Welcome to Outkick Live. I'm Ryan Glasspiegel. We're joined by Jason McIntyre. Jason was my boss for about 5.5 years at the Big Lead. He's a colleague of Outkick founder Clay Travis at both FS1 and iHeart. And we're going to start with iHeart, where you have a new podcast coming out, Straight Fire with Jason McIntyre, coming out daily, iTunes, Spotify, iHeart app. What are your goals for this podcast?
To dominate the podcast world, Ryan. No, listen, we're going to have some fun. Obviously, we want to become a must-listen-to podcast. I've been fortunate enough to get into the web with the Big Lead first, and now Fox digitally. Got into TV with FS1, got into radio with Fox Sports Radio. I've dabbled in podcasts, but never a daily. So this will be a challenging undertaking. As soon as I tell anybody, yeah, I'm doing a daily podcast. Daily? Are you going to find stuff every day? I'm like, you guys know me. I love sports. And this is, I think, coming out of the quarantine and the hell that has been 2020, I think there's going to be such an appetite, Ryan, for sports. I mean, I don't know about you, but I have on NBA games starting at, I think it's 10:30 a.m. Pacific every day. I'm just watching the games. I mean, the gambling's hit and miss. But it's just like the appetite right now. I went basically – 4 months, 3.5, 4 months without watching anything. Now, initially, when it happened, you know me, I'm a big March Madness nerd. I would watch the old March Madness games that they play on, what was it, CBS Sports Network maybe? They would play like Davidson versus Kansas. Yeah. And I love March Madness, and it hurt me, man, when we had to shelve March Madness. Obviously, I understood. But I didn't really watch much sports. I've started to watch some soccer recently, but I just think the general fan out there is just so starved for sports. Whoa, there was my alarm. That's embarrassing. That was rambling, man. I hope you didn't hear it. Allman Brothers on my alarm. But yeah, anyways, I think people are just going to be so obsessed with the NFL, certainly the NBA playoffs. College football, we'll see what happens if that even goes down. But I just think the appetite's going to be there. Timing couldn't be better for the podcast.
Yeah. So do you see yourself having guests, or you're going to just go it alone every day, or some combination of the two? You're obviously going to have some banter with your producer. What do you think about the type of content you're going to do?
Well, as a type A personality and someone who basically can talk sports 24/7, because I just like it. I think it stems, Ryan. I was a pretty good youth athlete when everybody was like the same size and tiny, and I just wanted it, and I was fast. And then everybody got bigger, and I was like a late bloomer. Couldn't make any high school sports teams. It was devastating, but from all failure comes a lot of success, and it drove me to get into journalism. And, my parents were like, why don't you write about sports? You still like it. I was the kind of kid who my dad would go to work at 6 a.m. every day. I would wake up and he'd get the newspaper. Yes, that's when I grew up in the, I think Paleozoic era was when they delivered newspapers on the driveway. And I would pull the sports section and I would instantly look at box scores. And I grew up in Northern Virginia reading Wilbon and Kornheiser. And I just devoured sports, and, not being able to make the high school tennis team or the basketball team, or I think I was the second to last guy cut from the golf team when I tried out one year. So I was a natural athlete, but not a great athlete. And it drove me into sports, and now I just love talking about it. So for me, 30 to 40 minutes is nothing, but I think we will do some guests. I just joked with Colin Cowherd on the Herd that he's in the running to be our first guest.
Ooh.
But I've heard from a lot of people about – yeah, he's in the mix. I've heard from a lot of people. I've talked to a couple NBA players via text who are in the bubble who they're also in the mix. We'll see if schedules permit. But we're going to do it all, man. It's going to be very fun and exciting. And I don't really have a formula every day. But right now I can tell you, watching Zion Williamson, if we had the podcast tomorrow, I would be going after Zion Williamson because, Ryan, are you seeing this guy? I saw a joke is that Vince Wilfork or Zion Williamson? I don't understand. He's 20, 21. I'm not going to kill the kid. But just this, does he have the work ethic to want to get in shape? He's playing 3 and 4 minute bursts.
Look,
It's disappointing as a fan.
Who struggles to control his eating, I might have some more empathy for.
Okay, let's hear it. Let's hear the defense of Zion. Now, he's a professional athlete. You're a professional writer, blogger, podcaster. You do radio, TV. What's the struggle?
Look, my struggle is that, like, I wake up and I want pizza or I want a cheeseburger, and my brain doesn't stop wanting it until that wish is fulfilled. And so I don't know if you have that type of mind or not, but as somebody who does and struggles, some days I beat the struggle, some days I lose, some days it beats me. Yesterday I ordered White Castle delivery knowing that it wasn't going to be good. I knew the fries were going to be soggy. I knew that White Castle is greasy and that it was far enough away that the grease was going to soak through the bun before I got it. I did it anyway, and I didn't even regret it.
Wow. That I would say you have a problem. I certainly have one as well. And being home all day, by the way, Fox, I guess, it just came out that, the studio is basically going to be closed, for the remainder of the year. So I'm at home doing TV hits. I'll do the podcast from home. I'm at home a lot, and it's difficult. We have a lot of food. Luckily, my wife makes great meals, usually 6 nights a week. But it's during the day. It's from like 9 to 5. How can I not just, go after every snack that's in the fridge, make popcorn? And when my kid's at home, let's go get ice cream, Dad. It's literally like 4 minutes away. And we'll pop over and get ice cream once or twice a week. And it is definitely a struggle. But
you're blessed
if I were Zion Williamson,
that Zion
right. Well, I mean, he's 20. If I was 20 and 6'5", 280, and I was dunking all over people, I would be doing push-ups and I would want to be an Adonis. Like, I think we both agree the talent's there for Zion.
He's been injured on and off, and so when you can't exercise to balance out the eating, I haven't had a leg injury ever, so I don't know what it's like to not be able to do cardio. But if I couldn't do it, I would get really fat. It's just
okay, but there are other ways besides cardio. I'm sure the Pelicans and Zion have access to a pool. Swim, get in the pool, do exercises, do sit-ups. I mean, the guy can afford a personal trainer, personal chef. Come on, at what point do we stop defending the guy? And I'm a huge Zion fan. I'm as big as it gets. But, if you're the Pelicans, I think you got to be disappointed. You go into the bubble, you get your teeth kicked in. They're about to give up 160 to the Kings, Ryan. I mean, this is – yes, we did bet. I think we both bet the Pelicans today. But, this is embarrassing. It's not all on Zion, obviously, but they got some work to do.
I mean, David Griffin clearly came into the bubble. Look, the NBA made up the rules so that the Pelicans would have a chance to get into the playoffs. Like, they did,
I don't disagree.
Everything that they did was for Zion and for the Pelicans, but really for Zion because he's a guy who drove college basketball ratings to decade highs pretty much by himself. And so the NBA rigged these rules for them. But then the first game back, they played in 15 minutes. They had a possession with 7 seconds left, didn't put him back in. The organization has made the decision that they aren't going to compete. Now, part of that is, to your point, that he is not in shape. But, if you're him and they're just going to play you 15 minutes, it's like, whatever, I'll get in shape for whenever the next season starts.
Easier said than done, but okay. I mean, again, maybe I'm viewing it as the guy who has watched LeBron leave Cleveland, and I thought he should have. Kevin Durant leaving OKC, again, I thought he should have. But these guys are spending 7, 8, 9 years before moving on. Is Zion going to say, listen, I don't even want that first extension. I will take less money to go to a better team where I'm not going to deal with this. And I feel like the clock's ticking.
We'll see.
Very early, but listen, in the NFL, we saw Patrick Mahomes. This is his 3rd year. He says, I want to be in Kansas City for the rest of my career. Nobody does that in the NBA. It just doesn't happen.
So it's kind of interesting. You mentioned earlier that you've dabbled in podcasts before. This was even before I got to the big lead. I think your podcast was done by that point. I got there late 2013, early 2014, basically you had a nice run. You were like in the iTunes rankings, if I recall correctly, like maybe not like number one with Simmons, but you were in the picture for sports and recreation. And I don't want to open an old wound, but USA Today was like, hey, we can't make money from this. You need to write, like we need page views. And now we're looking at an industry where podcasts are just so much more valuable than page views. Do you ever look back on that kind of time and wonder, wow, if I had stuck with this, how big could my podcast be today if it had continuity?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I don't know that USA totally got involved. I'd have to think it over. They were pretty good in the early days. The problem, as you said, though, they couldn't monetize it. And that's a major issue. And some of these big organizations essentially are like, oh, we can sell USA Today to advertise. We can't sell a podcast on a blog. Like they just couldn't do that in I think it was 2011, 2012.
Yeah, 2011, 2012 area.
Yeah, they just weren't equipped. You're spot on with that. However, the good news is those early reps got me, as you said, like in the iTunes rankings, whatever that's worth. And it ultimately led to higher visibility. I had some pretty good guests on there. Steph Curry was my first guest, which is crazy. It was before he became a star. It was like early Splash Brothers. I was just a big Steph Curry guy. And
without capital letters yet.
Right, exactly. And I got very fortunate with that. So,
but I mean, he did come off of that Davidson run. He wasn't like a total.
Yeah, I think he. The problem was I got him right after he had that ankle injury. It was when he was signing that extension, and it ended up being like a very team friendly extension because he had been injured a couple times. And I had him on, and people were like, "Holy cow, how'd you get that?" But again, Curry and the Warriors were like 7-12 in the West or whatever it was. At any rate, I get the podcast. It gets me some visibility. Ultimately, it helps lead to me getting an agent. And then next thing you know, I'm doing an NBC radio show fill-in on July 4th because nobody wants to work holidays. Hello, I love working. And it just, you never know what these things are going to lead to. I'll tell you, Ryan, right now, a lot of the young guys come at me on the Instagram DMs and are like, hey, man, dude, you didn't go to Podunk, Missouri and small town Montana and start your radio or journal. How did you do that? And I just tell them, like, you've always got to look for a back door. And that's what I did with podcasts, with the web. Got fortunate with FS1. You've always got to look for another way to get in. I was watching Moneyball last night, and it was just on cable, and I had starting to wind down, and my wife's like, you've seen this before. I was like, yeah, but there are some good things. When you watch it again and you watch how, Brad Pitt, Billy Beane views things, and they totally look at everything in like a different perspective that nobody else can really see. And, Ryan, a lot of it is luck. I got lucky with the website, but, I started reading about luck, and there's like 3 different kinds of luck. And sometimes you can make your own luck simply by stirring up dust, as you kind of did, when you made your moves from SI to the big lead and now Outkick. Like, I got a little bit lucky, but I tell these young guys, you just got to try everything. Who cares if nobody's really listening to your podcast? You don't have ad sales. It gets you some visibility. Who cares if nobody's reading your obscure blog? You got to just try, get started, do something. And that's been one of the keys to me in my career the last 15 years.
So tell me about this Fox Sports redesign, because I bet you people don't necessarily realize that you're an editor at foxsports.com. So in all of this, you're kind of in the meetings, you're making some decisions, you may or may not be involved in like hiring later. So what are like you trying to get out of that as a group?
You're giving me a lot of credit. So Fox Digital, as you know, a guy we both know, Jamie Horowitz, had gone to Fox back in 2016, 2015, and kind of blew up the website and said, we're going to go to video, and all these people got angry at him. And I'm sure some people would say, hey, he was proven right. Digital ad money is way, way down. We just saw what happened with NBC Sports this week. It's been a downward trajectory. It hasn't been good. Fox historically has been big and bold, knows how to do things differently, dating back to the NFL on Fox days, way back early when they started out, taking a chance and doing things big and bold. And currently, the Fox digital plans are quite big and bold. I'm in charge of some of the gambling moves that we're making because I have a rich gambling history, as every single person does on the internet. But I love gambling. I will say real quick, the Super Contest, which is the most fun thing ever. I've been like battling behind the scenes with them, texting the guys. I'm like, listen, you guys have to open this up to the web. Nobody wants to fly into Vegas now. I'm sitting on a bunch of tickets. I had 49ers to win the NFC West last year. I had several college basketball tickets that I get refunded. So I've got some good money in Vegas. I just need to go there and get it. And they're like, well, yeah, come sign up and hang out in the casino. And I'm like, no, I'm only in LA, but I'll pop over to the casino, sign up, and then fly back. But I don't know how I sell that to the wife, who's like, listen, why are you exposing this to sign up for some gambling contest? Now, 2 years ago, I was excellent in the Super Contest. I also started doing a podcast at Fox, a gambling podcast. And it helped me. I finished just outside the money. I was in the money in early December. It was awesome. One of my best runs ever. And I just missed out. But I've been gambling for a long time. I'm kind of a personality, if you will. That sounds strange to say. But I'm kind of helming what we're doing. And we have a couple big things on the horizon. And, hopefully they'll happen sooner than later.
Speaking of gambling, I asked you about this offline, but now pressure's on. What are some future bets in sports that you like?
What do you, NBA, NFL?
Anything, anything on the horizon that's out there, open-ended.
Nothing involving my Jets, unfortunately. It's funny. I kind of like the Cleveland Browns this year. A lot of my career, I've kind of been zig when everybody's zagging guy. And last year, everybody loved the Browns. And I was like, I don't see it. And they were a colossal flop and a failure. And this is the year I think Browns, I just put some money on them today to win the AFC North. I know the Ravens are awesome and Big Ben's coming back, but there's some value on this team. What Stefanski did with the Vikings was phenomenal with that offense, with Dalvin Cook, one of the best running backs in the league. Nick Chubb fits right into that mold. I mean, Chubb was tied for the league lead in carries of 20 or more yards. I think he was second in broken tackles in the NFL. He's a great back. And now they get two new tackles, Willis in the draft, and then stealing Conklin from Clay's Titans. I just think with what Baker can do with the play action, you've got the two receivers who could theoretically be their Diggs and Thielen, which is what Kirk Cousins had last year. I really think the Browns are lined up for 10, 11 wins. I took them on the over. I also have, I bet them, like I said, to win the division. I think Baker Mayfield props are very good. I've said now too much about the Cleveland Browns. A couple other ones for fun.
Colin might not let you back on Friday.
They're in good shape. Colin and Baker are good friends. But so 2 years ago, the Niners were 4-12, and last year they go to the Super Bowl. So last year the Chargers were absolute garbage, and I think at plus 4,000 to win the Super Bowl. Listen, it probably is not going to happen. Okay, there's Pat Mahomes, there's Lamar Jackson. But if you look at the DNA of their team, defensively, with Derwin James healthy for a season, I think Melvin Gordon is addition by subtraction. I know he's a Wisconsin guy. Sorry to take a shot at him there. But this is a very good team, and Tyrod Taylor's a key. Rivers threw 7 fourth-quarter interceptions last year. That's obscene. He was terrible in the fourth quarter. I think Tyrod Taylor protects the ball, and I don't love Anthony Lynn. I know Shanahan's a much better coach. But Anthony Lynn, a couple years ago, they were 12-4. This team was up against the Patriots, remember, and then they lay that massive egg. Listen, Belichick has lost Brady. I just think Chargers plus 4,000 for some pizza money. Instead of putting your money at White Castle, just throw a couple shekels on the Chargers and we'll see what happens.
Here's what I'm looking at right now. I'm interested in your critique. I like the Rockets at 12-1. These odds are via FanDuel, by the way.
Wait, to win the West or
no? To win the NBA championship.
Oof.
So here's my rationale on that. The Rockets have lost so many times in big spots. We've all seen that, but they're going to be a tough out for either or both of these LA teams, the Lakers and the Clippers. And a lot of times where we've seen them, to use your words, lay a massive egg in the NBA playoffs, it's because their legs just kind of go out from under them. I think that this layoff and not having the full season grind is going to be helpful for James Harden. And I think that he is going to perform better in these playoffs than we have seen him when push comes to shove before. And
yeah, I'm with you on all that. I don't think that's bad. I guess my other thing is he's a nice guy. He's a very solid coach. Mike D'Antoni, I don't know that I trust him in a big spot. I still can't get over how bad
did
they
you trust
gagged.
Andy Reid in a big spot before this past year? I mean, just because these coaches have lost a bunch of times doesn't mean that they will again.
Well, again, they led the Warriors by 10 at halftime of Game 7 at home, and Mike D'Antoni did not change a thing. The Warriors stormed back. Rockets missed 27 straight three-pointers, and D'Antoni did nothing. He just sat on his hands. Like, I just in crunch time, I don't know how great of a coach he's going to be. Yeah, you're right though. Maybe he is. He somehow gets Russell Westbrook to play well in a big spot. Russ is another guy. Ryan, last 2 years couldn't get out of the first round of the playoffs, and he had Paul George. I mean, come on.
We'll see. 12-1. It's some white.
Yeah, no, that's money. A good bet.
The other two that I've got. Well, I have three others, but I'll go two first. You're going to say this is a homer pick. Packers at 25-1, Titans at 30-1. Both of these teams reached their conference title games last year. I know that the Packers are due for this close game regression. They won their close games last year. Teams that do that often regress to the mean. I understand all that. This is very qualitative, but I think that picking Jordan Love and not just picking him, trading up to get him is going to motivate Aaron Rodgers and propel that offense more than drafting a wide receiver to help him would have done in that position. I think that he's going to take this and look at like when Tom Brady was trying to hold off Jimmy Garoppolo and say, I am going to make them get rid of him because I'm so good and they're not going to be able to move on from me. At least this year. Maybe not for 3 years, but I think that this season he's going to be supremely motivated. And then with the Titans, look, they reached the AFC title game. They had a lead on the Chiefs, 30-1. It's just, I like their numbers. Do I think they're going to win? No. But do I think that they have a better than 1-in-31 chance? Yes.
Okay, so I can get with you on the Packers. I don't love it, but I can ride with that. Titans, they're garbage, dude. I'm sorry. I just don't like that. Last year, how lucky did they get to get to the AFC title?
They ended the Patriots dynasty.
Right. But they had to win their division. The one that Andrew Luck bailed on, the one that Jacksonville's barely an NFL team. I'm not Bill O'Brien.
Has that division one of the worst improved dramatically? Not really. You just bashed Phillip Rivers. The Colts added him. I don't think that he's a magical solution. Like the Texans, Deshaun Watson's an incredible talent. They got rid of DeAndre Hopkins. I don't think you can say that they got better.
No, the Texans definitely did not get better. But on Rivers, he was behind a bottom 6 or 7 offensive line per Pro Football Focus. He now goes to the Colts, who are number 1. So I think they're just going to grind it out on the ground. I mean, they drafted Wisconsin guy. You need a bell for Wisconsin. I love that backfield in Indy. Defense hopefully will be better. But remember, Derrick Henry was running to the ground last year. He had so many carries. I think historically we've seen running backs have that huge load. That sounds bad. And then the next year come back and they're a little flat and struggle a bit. I mean, listen, Tannehill was unbelievable. He had one of the great half-season stretches that we've seen in a long time. He was phenomenal. Can he do that again, or is he going to turn into a pumpkin like the real guy he was in Miami, which was really nothing special?
I mean, didn't your guy Adam Gase have his best season in Miami when Tannehill was healthy? Like, I think
Technically, his
Tannehill,
best season was
it,
with Peyton as an offensive coordinator, but yes, as a head coach, correct. And then Tannehill got
but
hurt.
like it's weird. Like Tannehill, he gets this bad rap, but how much of his lack of success in Miami was due to a combination of not being healthy and organizational ineptitude?
Very fair. I mean, that remember the Richie Incognito story, Jonathan Martin, I think all that went down when Tannehill was there. And a very unstable. Listen, the Dolphins have been a flaming dumpster fire since Dan Marino left. I mean, they've done absolutely nothing. And replacing a franchise quarterback is tough. I'm a little surprised they hitched their wagon to a former college football receiver in Tannehill, but such is life. And now they got Tua, so good luck, Miami.
Last question. We'll get you out of here on this. What do you miss the most about running the big lead, and what do you miss the least?
It's been a little over a year, maybe like 16 months. I miss the guys and the camaraderie, obviously. We had a good group there, at its height. I think we had like 7 or 8 or 9 full-time guys. I know it's, down significantly since, but it's always cool to start something. And I don't know how many blogs out there have been sold. I think it's Henry Abbott's True Hoop. Deadspin wasn't sold, right?
No,
It was started by Nick
Busted
Denton.
Coverage was sold.
Busted Coverage.
Pro Football Talk wasn't sold, but it was licensed to NBC.
Right. Listen, it's tough to sell a website. We were one of a handful. You can count them on one hand. Like, I don't know if Can't Stop the Bleeding. That's like way old school.
Yeah.
But there were only a handful of blogs that were sold. So, that felt pretty cool. And creating something out of nothing, just bootstrapped. It felt awesome. And it wasn't great to leave, but obviously, things happen for a reason. And listen, our visions didn't align. They thought their strategy would work. I kind of knew it wouldn't, at least not in 2019. And so they just said, thanks for your time. And I said, all right. And things happen for a reason. Like, I did miss it initially. But then pretty quickly I realized, like, oh, I don't have to collect a bunch of links for the roundup the next day. I don't have to send Ryan and Bobby and all these guys links like, hey, we should do a post.
You know what I bet you don't miss also? I bet you don't miss when I would take a shot at someone or Bobby would take a shot at someone. You have a personal relationship with them and you're stuck in between their mad texts and our opinions.
Yeah, well, you got to deal with that with Clay, I'm sure, right? Clay doesn't hold back, and I'm sure you get a bunch of texts and some relationships.
But it's different because, I do work for him, and so yes, I am the recipient of people's anger towards him. But it's different when you're the employer, and so like you theoretically could have stopped me from doing this. You didn't stop me because you wanted me to have free speech. Well, and then somebody that you're friends with is like, hey man, why is your website crushing me? I thought we were friends.
And now that's a great point. And I would love, I haven't talked to Clay in a little bit, but I would love to ask him, like, do you guys have the freedom that you had at the big league? If you want to write about X or Y or Z, can you? Or will they say, you know what, let's lay off that?
I think it's pretty similar.
I'm trying to think back. I'm sure there was a time or two where I said, hey, man,
I mean, it happened with Ravel. It happened with Michelle Beadle a couple times with you and me.
No, but you would end up writing about them. I'm saying, did I stop you and say, hey, let's lay off that? Maybe there was some tone or some language.
You stopped it the first time, but maybe like if it happened once, you're like, hey, like maybe you should look at it this way. Like this person isn't all bad or something.
Well, there are two sides to, everything. And I think, the smartest people view both sides of the coin, right? And those who just want to view their own side, it's just, you're not looking at it intelligently. And even with all this coronavirus nonsense, and I'm really sick of it. And, these people who don't want to wear masks only see it their way. And I'm like, hey, you need to look at this. There are things called facts and doctors and scientists. Like, let's look at those. And they just don't want to have the discussion. So it's a quick block for me. I don't need that nonsense in my timeline. But And that's the thing. As a leader, I would try to get you to look at things in a different way. And I'm sure you have people now. Why are you having McIntyre on your pod? Why are you having him on? Have me on. I'm sure there's going to be people who are sending you messages about that. Why are you giving him promotion? He's a Fox. Oh, why are you doing, like that stuff happens all the time. It's like part of the job. And it's, I guess part of your job is to talk them off the ledge and show you don't have an allegiance. You could pretty much ask me anything. I'm not like holding back. I just think authenticity wins the day. And I don't think a lot of the fake garbage and nonsense that I see out there in sports media, I said something recently about, I think it was Sage Steele. People went after, I've already forgotten what it was. Might be that Wall Street Journal.
It was,
I don't know.
So in the Undefeated held a special, and she thought that Elle Duncan and Michael Eaves went to the producers and got her kicked off because of how they thought the Black community would perceive her appearance on the show.
So I think it was 2017, maybe, Super Bowl in Houston. I think it was that one, maybe 2018, whatever. And I had known Sage Steele a little bit. We're both rep by CAA. She had Nick Khan, and I knew Nick well. And I got to know Sage Steele a little bit. And then we were hanging out at the Super Bowl. And I'll never forget this. Like, we're at this bar, lots of media people all around. And I could clearly see she was rattled and something happened. And she starts telling me this stuff. And I'm like, wow. It's just weird how the media, if you're not in like that clique, they will go after you, and for dumb reasons. And it's frustrating to hear. And you hear some of this stuff. Obviously, I just said there's two sides to every story, but you hear one side, and then you go fishing for the other, and it's like, really? And for my experiences with Sage Steele, really good human being, good mother to her kids, really good, talented journalist, sportscaster, all that stuff. And just to see the way people would treat her in that Wall Street Journal story, I did some poking around, and apparently it's legit. Like, she kind of got screwed. And, it's like, there's so many frauds in this industry. Ryan, you know that.
Yes.
You have to deal with a lot of these people too. You got to speak to them and text with them and fish out stories. And I'm sure you've been burned by people who you have the story, you've got it, and then you reach out to them, and then they want to break the story before you can get it. It's like, I don't know that makes him a fraud, but it's just the frustrations of dealing with some of these fragile, Clay likes to call them snowflakes. We know it. There are a lot of snowflakes in the media. A lot of great people in the media. Colin Cowherd, obviously, is one of them. I work with him closely. A lot of great guys that I've become friendly with at FS1 and ESPN. I know a couple guys at NBC. The fraudulence in this industry is just so rampant and frustrating. And that's one of the things I want to do on the podcast. I'm going to keep it real. Listen, I know people every day say, oh, you're in LeBron. You're in the tank for LeBron. How much is Rich Paul paying you? How much are you on the Clutch payroll? Just because you say good things about LeBron, I say, bro, where were you in 2017 when I said Durant was the best player on the planet? You probably were shredding. You saying, it's LeBron. I said LeBron, and people killed me. Your guys at part of my take. Again, I probably should listen to that podcast. I don't, but they've crushed me a few times. And so I've listened a couple times they've gone after me. And it's like, really? You crushed me for saying that Durant's the best player? Have you seen what he's done to LeBron head-to-head in the finals? He murdered him. Just killed him in the fourth quarter. Every single statistical measure, Durant just destroyed him. Well, it's because of the teammates. It's because of this. Durant was the best player in the league. Period. Hard stop. Now, Durant's been hurt. He's out. Now, a lot of people want to give it to Kawhi. I'm not one of those guys. I think LeBron's the best. I know you're a Giannis guy, being a Bucks fan. My vote, if I had one, is to LeBron for MVP. 35, leads the league in assists at 35, like basically changing positions. Anyways, I've gone way, way off tangent there. I guess what final note, I'm going to be authentic on the podcast. You call it like you see it. I just try to do that. I think that usually wins the day. That's how I grew up, when my parents, teaching me, hey, listen, this might be your best friend, but that guy's bad news. And okay, all right, got it. And I'm just gonna be as authentic as possible.
All right, thank you again, Jason McIntyre. Straight fire, hot fire.
Straight fire. I like hot fire wings, but
straight fire.
Yeah.
iHeart, iTunes, Spotify. Also catch him on Colin Cowherd on Friday afternoons and on Fox Sports Radio on Saturday mornings. Once again, Jason, we appreciate it. Hopefully we'll do this again soon.
All right, Ryan. Thanks a lot, man. Keep up the good work.